Hello everybody and welcome back to Typical City, the Manchester Derby. It's on. Game on. I can't wait for this one. Really looking forward to this game. I do have a very good feeling that we're going to come out victorious, but it is United. Anything can happen, as we saw last season at Old Trafford, where they turn up for 5 minutes, get a lucky refereeing decision to allow Marcus Rashford and Bruno Fernandes's offside goal to combine for them to score a complete joke of a goal as well. So revenge is on the cards. We did enact some revenge by getting the treble, of course, going and beating them at Wembley in the FA Cup final, of course. So that is a pretty tasty bit of revenge we got there. But I want to do it on their turf, in the swamp. Go into the down and dirty swamp of Old Trafford and beat them on their own ground. That's what I want to see. And I want it to be a convincing performance as well. Manchester United right now, 3 wins in a row. None of which have been convincing in the slightest, which is why I thought of the word convincing, because those 3 performances, the one against Sheffield United most recently, that was in the Premier League at least, that was took a very difficult game that they made Sheffield United look very much in the game, became an end-to-end bit of a slogfest in that second half, took a Diego Dallo long-range effort to scream one into the top right-hand corner to get all 3 points. Then again, they were lucky against Copenhagen with a penalty save in the 90-whatever minute. And then, of course, Brentford, and that was it. Brentford should have come away from that game with 3 points. And they equalised with a Scott McTominay equalised in the 93rd minute, and then the 97th minute, they get a winner. That's United in a nutshell. Doing nothing and playing poorly for the majority of the game, and then somehow coming away with a result that papers over cracks. And so far, those cracks have been papered over reasonably well in the last 3 games, but those cracks are still there. They haven't gone. They haven't got good grouting in there. They haven't fixed them at all. And it is paper that's keeping it together right now with a Pritt stick. Maybe a Pritt stick, and that's being generous. But really, City can smash those cracks wide open and turn those cracks into chasms if we play our correct football. The football that we know we can play, because City are slowly finding a bit of rhythm right now. Not great in certain areas of the game and then much better in others. That lately we've seen performances that have been a very solid one half, followed by a lackluster, almost complacent second half, or vice versa, first half versus second half. These scenarios need to stop. We can't allow the game to be a game of 2 halves, not against United. We have to have 90 minutes of assertive focus, concentration at the maximum level. Even if they don't play their best, they can just turn it on, because that's a reflection of United, really. I think that's an indication of the fact that underneath all these bad results and performances that they continuously churn out at Old Trafford, away from Old Trafford, United still have those players that can turn it on in an instant, like a light switch. They can just have a moment of brilliance, United, and that's what worries me, and that's how they seem to maintain a top half of the Premier League position in the Premier League, because really some of these performances now, you're getting into the bottom half of the Premier League, and if they lose to City this weekend and Chelsea and West Ham go and win, they will find themselves in the bottom half of the Premier League. But they just have that ability, and that's an indication of attitudes. The fact that the players can just turn it on, that to me screams, we're playing shit, aren't we? We're playing poorly. Let's score a goal, shall we? Should we try? Yeah, let's give it a go. And then they try and they score a goal, and they work some good bit of football, a good bit of link-up play, showing the world that they can do it. And for me, that just falls with Erik ten Hag, and beyond that in the coaching staff and McLaren and all those clowns they've got trying to look after those players. Really, they should be doing that week in, week out. They do it in 10 minutes flashes. We saw it against us last season, at Old Trafford. We dominated that game from start till about the 70th minute, and then they get a lucky goal out of nothing, and then 4 minutes later they find themselves 2-1 up. Just a little flash like that, and then all of a sudden they go back to being reserved and we dominate the ball, but the game's lost at that point. So we can't allow these little moments of concentration, albeit it was a luck moment against us last season, but United have that ability to just turn it on in an instant, getting goals against the run of play. We have to stop that. But there is interesting records as well that are up for grabs if you're interested in the numbers as well, because 39 managers have faced more than 5 games at Old Trafford, and only Pep has a 50% winning record, above 50% right now. It's at 57%, and he's won 6 games at Old Trafford, and only Arsene Wenger has won more than him, but it took him about 30 games to do it, to get to that record. But I mean, really, this is Pep Guardiola, this is his second home now, really. He goes to Old Trafford and wins on the reg. Pep Guardiola, he turned up. I remember even in his first season, we went there when it was Mourinho versus Pep. I remember it. The whole build-up was about the 2 managers more than the 2 clubs. And eventually it was Kevin De Bruyne being sent through and Kelechi Iheanacho to complete the win as well. Really good that was. But we've got to be assertive in our performance. We've got to be strong, we've got to be powerful, and we've got to consistently play the same style of football from minute 1 to minute 90. We can't allow dips. That's the issue with United. And if we do, we'll come away comfortable victory with a comfortable 3 points if we don't allow that 10-minute moment. And there's probably going to be a 10-minute moment where I'm talking about, okay, United have the ball. That's to be expected at some period of the game. But defend valiantly. Keep your shape. No silly lapses of concentration, things like that. We can't allow things like that to happen. But City have the news that Akanji, of course, is suspended. Kevin De Bruyne is still injured, but that is it in terms of City's team news. United, on the other hand, have got Martinez, Luke Shaw, Diallo and Malacia all out. Jadon Sancho can't be arsed playing football anymore. United can't be arsed with him. He can't be arsed with them. So he's not even worth talking about. I don't know why I'm wasting my breath on him, but I am. Here I am, that clown that used to be at Manchester City. Thank God we got rid of that bad egg, and he's now rotting away at Old Trafford. Casemiro and Wan-Bissaka, though, on the other hand, are close to a return. Casemiro more likely than Wan-Bissaka. Wan-Bissaka will probably find himself on the bench. Casemiro's closer, I believe, which could indicate to me that he's probably going to start against City, which is a big bonus for Manchester United and a negative for Manchester City. But in terms of my predicted starting 11, I'm going to start with United. So in goal, Onana. Now you're hoping for some of these mistakes that we've been seeing from Onana recently to creep up, or is he going to have that confidence running through his veins after getting a last-minute penalty-saving moment for him to win the game and effectively keep United in the Champions League, really? Because if they lose that or draw that game, they're almost out. They're almost out of the groups, which would be pretty embarrassing 3 games in, but he's kept them in it. I don't think he could believe he'd saved it. So I think there's a flaky, lacking confidence goalkeeper there. Shoot is my recommendation. Shoot as often as possible, which isn't really in our nature. We tend to work it a lot more. Shooting from outside the box is something Pep Guardiola would never instruct. But me, I'd be saying, occasionally have a go. Have a go against Onana. Put him under pressure, especially early on. The nerves will be running through his veins, not confidence yet. He'll if he makes a couple of good saves, that'll turn into confidence. But if we can put him under pressure early on, fire some shots in him that he won't be expecting, because City tend not to do that. Fire some long-range shots at him and see what he can do. See if he can hold it. In the middle, I've gone for Harry Maguire, who's actually hitting a bit of form, really, in fairness to the guy. He's playing reasonably well. He did score against Copenhagen to win the game for United in that game. Alongside him is going to be Varane. There he is. And Dalot, I've gone for right back, and Reguilon at left back, if I can find him as well. There he is. Reguilon. So what United do in the midfield is going to be really interesting, because what we saw against Brighton for United was a diamond, and they got battered. But that's a diamond tactic that I think can work if the players do their jobs properly, which United players didn't. What Erik ten Hag was trying to achieve was a very narrow central block against Brighton. Brighton, who play a very similar style of football to Manchester City. It's possession-based. There are subtle nuances and differences between the two, Brighton style and Manchester City style. We work the ball a lot more than Brighton do. Brighton tend to have it's possession based, but a little bit more forceful. They break the lines quicker than City do. We tend to spread it across the pitch. They're a lot more vertical, Brighton are, with their passes, which didn't work. That diamond didn't work. I think they're going to probably go for 2 at the back and have something a little bit more solid, United. That's my guess. But they could try and employ a diamond, which I'll try and get onto shortly and trying to explain why they might do that. Casemiro is back as well. Amrabat is the one I'm going to be sticking in alongside Casemiro. Again, if you can find Casemiro, there he is. Finding these players. It's like trying to find them on the pitch, United players, isn't it? You can't find them. Where have they gone? Missing. Ahead of them, Bruno Fernandes. And I think that's the midfield that they'll probably play. There's Amrabat and Casemiro. That's solid, isn't it? That's a solid midfield and can kill the gaps for Foden and potentially Alvarez, whoever's going to play and drift in the middle number 10 role of Manchester City. That's where it starts to get interesting and where the game will be won and lost. Up front, I think it's going to be Højlund as well. Just took Fernandes back there. Marcus Rashford on the left. And I think they're probably going to go for Antony on the right, which completes United's team. Now, in terms of the diamond, if they were to play a diamond, it would be a completely different team. But in terms of City, let's get straight started into City's predicted starting 11. I'm going to go with Ederson in goal. Ortega got himself a Premier League start, didn't he? So you're wondering if he's got one eye on that. I imagine Ederson's coming back and it was just fatigue. But I hope it is, in truth, because Ederson's the one that I feel safest with. Kyle Walker at right back. Ruben Diaz and John Stones are going to be the two centre-backs. John Stones most likely pushing forward into that half-back role, sitting alongside Rodri, which I'll show you shortly. Gvardiol at left-back, which is probably our best defence, really. I can't think that's a solid defence, isn't it? You know, really, we should be keeping a clean sheet at Old Trafford, and there's not many teams do keep clean sheets at Old Trafford right now, and they've only kept one clean sheet themselves this season at home to Wolves, so they're shipping goals, but they haven't gone a game at Old Trafford without scoring yet, so they do seem to find the net one way or another. This defence has everything in its ability to stop that from happening and potentially keep a clean sheet. If we keep a clean sheet, I'm pretty confident we'll score at Old Trafford, so it does become about keeping clean sheets, really. Ahead of them, I've put Rodri, of course. I mean, I didn't even describe him as I was going in because it's just such a formality, isn't it? It's just a given. He's going straight in. I didn't even need to discuss that. Rodri's in. Of course he is. Ahead of them, I've gone for Alvarez and Filippo Foden. The control that Phil Foden offers, and Jeremy Doku, the word control doesn't spring to mind. He doesn't have that ability to slow the game down, whereas I think Phil Foden, more so than Alvarez, is more suited to linking up with Doku, and that can give more space to the right winger, which I believe is going to be Bernardo Silva, and of course Erling Haaland up top, which I think is a solid team, really, a solid team. I think that back four will turn into a back three eventually, with Rodri being partnered with John Stones as well. Now, in terms of how the two teams are going to play together, I think once the game starts, this is probably how they're going to set up, with Højlund tucking along, pressing them as much as possible, with Alvarez and Foden tucking in alongside to complete the box there. And City have that box in midfield that you can see, which I'm hoping can control the midfield, because I think that's where Amrabat is going to want to get onto Alvarez. Casemiro's going to get onto Foden. Fernandes is going to be accompanied by John Stones and Rodri. You want them to look after him, but really we're talking more about when City have the ball. And when City have the ball, then we should be dominating this. What you want to question now is Antony going to get back? Is he going to get back and help Diego Dalot against Jeremy Doku? Because if he doesn't, you're going to see Casemiro coming back, and then Jeremy Doku is going to be double-teamed by Casemiro and Diego Dalot, and if that's the case, Casemiro's got to peel away from Phil Foden, giving him the space, and that way we get the ball into Phil Foden, and then he's in. He's in on space, and that causes problems for Manchester United. Same on the other side with Bernardo Silva, and this is where I think the diamond can come into play for Manchester United, and why I think that could work. It would require a totally different team now, so you are going to see me change the team a little bit. If they were to employ a diamond, it could work defensively, but how much threat are they going to have going forward? Because I think with a diamond, it would look more like this, with Eriksen probably being the left side, and they'd probably play a front two of Højlund and Marcus Rashford, with Fernandes, Eriksen alongside, and probably Scott McTominay, because he's got the legs to do it in the diamond. And the reason you need legs in the diamond is because the diamond needs to shift across the pitch together, which is why, again, City's width can come into play and still stop this particular formation. If United were to play this diamond that you can see here, I think this can still be beaten by simply keeping the wide players wide and as often as possible, because if we get that ball to Doku, the midfield diamond will shift across the pitch like that. And more often than not, all the players will draw across, and that will bunch up and cause chaos. Phil Foden and Rodri will offer support as much as they can. Alvarez will likely be tucking in. But if Bernardo Silva maintains that space, if he can find the ball into Rodri and then switch that ball, how quick can United get back across the pitch in their diamond? and if we eventually just wear them out. That's the tactic of keeping these wide players. But what the diamond does is create clusters. It creates clusters in the middle of the park. It's hard to penetrate, reduces the gaps, and that's what I think United would try to employ if they went on a very defensive mindset. So if you see these players, McTominay and Eriksen, I actually think that's more of a defensive mindset. Could Eriksen play? Maybe Amrabat would probably be more of a defensive option to be part of the diamond. Possibly, but ultimately I think City have enough here to beat United. They really should be comfortably winning, and it only is the atmosphere, the occasion is what could hinder Manchester City from winning this game. But ultimately I think this is going to end up being 3-1. I hope we can keep a clean sheet. I have a feeling we won't. United tend to get a scrappy goal out of something somewhere in the game. They tend to get a goal. I still think City will have enough to win this game 3-1. Blues, get your predictions in below. What are your predictions for the game? What are your predictions for the starting 11? I really want to hear them. I will be doing a watch along for the 3:30 kickoff tomorrow as well. Please come and join me for that. It's going to be a good one. Really exciting one. And if you want to see my combined starting 11 of Manchester United and Manchester City players, that's up left, and you can see that on the card I've left on the screen for you there. Click on that. Go and find it in the next video. It's worth a watch. Go and check it out. And come and join me for the watch along. Drop a like on this video as well. It'd be hugely appreciated. And I'll see you in the next one.
This is typical City now.